Lord, we pray that you give us clear vision and direction for this meeting. We ask that our group be of one heart and mind in intent and purpose. Thanks be given to you for all you've done to help us further our group's purpose and mission. Give us the strength to do the right thing and always be mindful of the path you wish us to take. Lord, open the communication between us and our members, that more of our members would know that we need them to accomplish the goals and achievements we seek. Touch their hearts, Lord. We also ask you to keep our military folks that are away from home safe and out of harm's way. Give them the strength they need to keep our liberties. Father, we ask for your help keeping BCP going, as we know this is our only chance to make a difference. We need new members, new ideas, and of course the resources to do the things we need to do to get our word out to the masses. We need your help to accomplish all we need to do. And thank you for your continued blessings. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everybody. Can you hear me in the back? Judy, everybody? Can you hear me?
Then we don't have to worry about it.
Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. We have a great program for you. I'm going to get right into BCP business. First of all, we are still looking for locations to put up 4x8 or smaller signs to promote the Berks County Patriots. We're also looking for some people to paint lettering on those signs. One or two signs, which would be great. So hopefully you can help us on that. If you know of anybody, and any of you wish to help, or you can pass it on to someone else, see Linda or Judy. We have our 50-50 raffle tickets in the back. We will do the raffle drawing at the end. We also have our gun raffle, and that is got a chance to win a Ruger American 17 round mag, 9mm. You either have that weapon, a weapon of your choice, or $400 cash, and tickets are only $10, so we hope that you would consider purchasing them. Now, folks, as I mentioned before, we do these raffles to offset some of our costs. We do not have a yearly membership fee like some of the other groups do. So whatever funds we need, we got to get from the raffles, whatever happens at these meetings tonight. So we appreciate your support through these meetings here, as well as other contributions that are sent in throughout the year. So thank you very much for that. Also, Ed's not here tonight. Hopefully he'll be here next month. We do have BCP t-shirts, which we would hope that you would purchase as well. Quiet over there, Tammy and Ellen. Folks, back in March, Attorney Simon Grill was here. He gave an excellent 45-minute preview of his 3R presentation on the Castle Doctrine, Stand Your Ground, and Classic Self-Defense. You were so interested in his class that you asked us if we could make arrangements with him to do a 3R presentation. We spoke with him. We also spoke with you last month. Based on the turnout last month of those who expressed a strong interest, we had 49 people sign up. We're hoping to get others as well. I told Simon that. He said that's great. He said he'll do it. So we have a tentative date. Saturday, September 7th at 9 to 12 a.m. at Wegmans Restaurant on Route 61. There'll be a small fee of $10, which also includes coffee and donuts. Please see Judy in the back or Helen. Now, folks, you do not need to own a firearm to attend this meeting. Anybody can. All of you should know your rights and responsibilities in case you get involved in a situation that maybe a firearm, maybe a knife, maybe a baseball bat, or a frying pan. Maybe it's in your home. Maybe it's at the mall. Maybe riding a lawnmower, or whatever. You need to know your rights. So it's important that you would go to these places as well. again, as I said, please see Judy and Linda in the back. At a later meeting, we will give you an update on school property taxes. They are running a new bill. They actually did about 6 or 7 versions on it to make sure they cover all the bases. Its prime sponsor is our good friend, Representative Frank Ryan. Bill number is HB 13. Once we know more, as I said, we will pass that on to you. Now, if you're superstitious about the number 13, don't be. It was purposely picked. 13 was purposely picked. It represents the original 13 colonies of the United States. So, as I said, don't be superstitious. Now, in the meantime, by the way, until we get the school property tax eliminated, you can appeal your property taxes. The appeal process starts July 1st to August 15th, I believe it is. It's $25. It's an easy process. I've been through it many, many times. I've done it the last couple of years. I have information with me tonight if you'd like to look at it. You also can go online. It's on the Berks County Service Center. You can get all your information there, so you might want to consider that. Also, for those that are interested in Convention of States, Article 5 Convention of States, about 2 weeks ago, the Convention of States application was filed in Harrisburg. It is House Resolution 206. It was filed by Representative Matt Felber. You can give his office a call if that's something you want to support, find out more information on that. That takes care of what I have. I'm going to digress here for 1 minute. Tammy, you got 1 minute. Tammy, where are you? 1 minute.
I'm coming. Can everybody hear me?
Take the mic anyways.
I'm Sam Peter. I'm letting you know that Temple Fair is next Tuesday through Saturday, and I will be having a table there for school property tax elimination and also for the drag fee going into our libraries. We want to stop that, so I will have the petitions at the table, and I will be at the fair. And anybody that's willing to or wants to help me, come on out. Let's have a party. 6 to 9 on Tuesday through Friday, Saturday 2 to 8. God bless you all. Have a good night.
Good luck, Tammy. Next, there is Carol up here. Carol Gardetti. Carol is going to give us our Constitution minute for the month.
Don't get scared, I'm not going to read the whole book. Okay, tonight, instead of talking about the Constitution, I've chosen to talk about Thomas Jefferson. I greatly, greatly admire Thomas Jefferson. He may be the most intelligent person that ever served in our government. Let me start by telling you that his father died when he was only 14, which made him the man of the house, because at those times they had a law called primogeniture, which meant that if the father died, the oldest male relative took over, and that was him. He was very smart, graduated from college when he was 19. He learned Latin and Greek, so he could read the classics in the original language. He didn't trust the translation, he wanted to read it in the original. He was very tall, he was 6 foot 2 inches tall, which in those days was quite tall. He was about a head taller than the average person back then. This is what he did by the time he graduated from high school. This was his daily routine. He spent up to 14 hours a day with his books, his violin, and he ran 2 miles a day to keep fit. You thought jogging was a real recent thing. He did it way back then. He studied these different things: law, languages, physics, agriculture, mathematics, philosophy.
chemistry, anatomy, zoology, botany, religion, politics, history, literature, rhetoric, and every other subject imaginable. At age 23, he was admitted to the bar. To get admitted to the bar, you have to have oral questioning before some judges. The judges were very amazed to find out that he knew more than they did. He was admitted right away at age 23. There was a gentleman that met him, was talking to him. The man was from New England. He didn't know who he was talking to. He just struck up a conversation. But after he talked to him, later on he wrote this down. He said, when he spoke of the law, I thought he was a lawyer. When he talked about mechanics, I was sure he was an engineer. When we got into medicine, it was evident he was a physician. When he discussed theology, I was convinced he must be a clergyman. And when he talked of literature, I made up my mind that I had run against a college professor who knew everything. This man was very, very smart. And I'm not the only one that thinks so. You may have heard this before, I use it a lot. John Kennedy. I don't have it word for word. But John Kennedy once had a gathering of some of the brightest minds in our country at the White House, come there for luncheon and to talk about things. And at that time he said, this is the greatest gathering of intelligence ever to meet in the White House, except when Jefferson dined alone.
Thank you, Carol. What's the title of that book, by the way, Carol?
The Making of America.
And how long does it take for your class to go through that?
It takes 2 years. This is the book we used for my Constitution class. It takes 2 years.
Yes. And she did fantastic with us. We went through that. That's great. Up next is Sally Graff. Sally, what do we have here? Feel good moments?
How many are Navy men out there? Anyone Navy men? Okay, this is for you. You guys don't like this, okay? Back in 1965, a gentleman by the name of Thomas J. Philpower joined the Navy. I got to meet him last year up in Kingston, New York, for a friend of mine. But this is what they did. He just sent this to me. There was a baby in Italy who was going to die. A newborn baby was going to die because he had incompatible blood. His parents' blood did not match. The Italian officials and the Italian news put out that they needed somebody to be tested to give this baby blood. He was going to need a complete transfusion. So 5 of the men from the USS Tidewater, including Tom, and 4 other men went and were tested. Tom and these 4 men tested positive. They gave the baby the blood, and within hours, he was out of the woods and has survived. Now, I'm going to keep in touch with Tom because I want to know, did he ever find out if this child is still alive and have any contact? So, this is for the Navy guys out there. Hooray, guys. Good job.
Really is feeling good. Thank you very much, Sally. What did you say that was?
He joined in 65. Unfortunately, there's no dates in the articles.
Okay.
They were stationed off of Naples. They were outside of Naples when the cry went out to help.
Fantastic. That was really great. Okay, folks. Up next is our legislative chairman, Rod Miller. He's going to introduce our next speaker. Give it up for Rod Miller.
Okay, good evening, Patriots. I thought I had 20 minutes to introduce our next speaker. He told me it's a typo, I only have 2, so there we are. Okay. you've seen the resumes of people running for district justice. In fact, in Reading, you might be aware that the mayor's daughter decided that she wanted to be a district justice. I guess her qualifications were next of kin. So sometimes district justices aren't everything they set out to be. But unlike the district justice we're going to be hearing from tonight, he did his homework before he decided he wanted to be a district justice. And I can tell you from looking over his resume, 73 to 77, he was in the Air Force as a security police. He got out of there, did some civic duty as an EMT, and then from 78 to 81, to Laurel Hill policeman. From 81 to 2000, he went from patrolman in Gilbert Township through the ranks to detective. So he knows from that side of the game what takes place. But I guess he decided that it's a lot more interesting putting him away than catching him. So he decided to change his career a little bit. Short story, but interesting and germane to the subject. 2000, our district justice had to retire due to age, mandatory age, I think is 70, and left an opportunity there to fill that slot. And our district justice tonight decided it was time, so he decided to run to the office. First of all, somebody had to be appointed to fill the remaining part of the term. Now, I don't know what influence I had, but sometimes little people have some. I wrote a letter to the governor then, Tom Ridge, and let him know that there's only one man, as far as we are concerned, qualified for the job that has the background. And I signed the letter. I was legislator, or the chairman of the Northern Council of Berks, the GOP of Berks County. And whether I had anything to do with it or not, he got the appointment, so something good happened out of that. A little bit short personal. I was attacked by the chairman of the Township Commissioners on election day because I objected to a sign on polling doors that was put there by him and it violated election laws. He was so irate about it, he come out to the poll, charged me like a prompt bull, and knocked me backwards. Constable saw this, constable kept it, called 911. We both put an affidavit together, and at that time he was an investigator, or I think he might have still been sergeant, I'm not sure anymore, but our district justice took that right into the district attorney. I got a call from the district attorney, said he wasn't going to prosecute. It was purely political, no other reason. So that's where that went. Now I got even. I know that that chairman of the commissioners also committed other crimes, and I went before the FBI, federal prosecutor, which was me, and later became a congressman. Whatever I had to do with it again. Garris got 4.5 years in federal prison. The district attorney at that time, Mark Baldwin, Republican, he wanted to be a judge. I happen to know the chairman of the judge committee, the search committee. I went up to Harrisburg, talked to him. Next time I saw him, I said, "Rod, what you told me, you were right on." He was removed off the short list. So, as far as I'm concerned, I didn't get mad. I got even. Okay, time passed from there. In 2001, it was time to run for the full term. get this, our president ran against a woman who by all stretches of imagination ought to be in jail. 18 years, 16 years before that, maybe 18, our district justice ran for that job full time. Now the Democrats thought it was going to be a plum. They had a chance to grab it. They ran a woman against him who later was charged with crimes where she was part of the Torah coroner's office scam where they were delivering phony bodies. And she didn't go to jail, but I think she turned state's evidence against the Torah. The Torah went to prison, if you guys remember. So there you go. History repeats itself. 16, 18 years ago, I've seen it happen where the female opponent deserved to be in prison. Today, 2016, female opponent deserved to be in prison. History does repeat. Okay. Let me just finish with this. Tonight's speaker, we talked about the subject that's been hitting our news quite often, which is truancy. It affects all of us, not just the parent. We're going to hear more about that this evening. And after he was finished, he agreed to take questions. So if you have questions on anything about district justice and what your rights are, now's your time. So let me say, in conclusion, I introduce my district justice, Dean Patton.
Folks, if anybody remembers the movie Patton, anybody remember the movie Patton? That stands in front of the third division. He says, I just want to let you see it. Get louder. There you go. Do I have horns and a tail? A couple years ago, folks, I had a young lady who wasn't sending 500 children to school. After about 9 times of picking her up, bringing her into the court, setting up what we have in position today, what we call a 30-day program. Just get your kids to school the next day. It's a habit. If I can break that habit, I break the kids enough to come to school. Mom was sitting at home partying with her kids. Good-hearted lady, I won't tell you that. She did care. Usually I have a big enough voice, I'm sorry. So I ended up putting her in jail for 48 hours. She should have been in jail for 45 days. When she went to jail, she was having a heart condition. She didn't take her medication with her. She told the jailer that she was having a problem. The jailer said, lay down, we'll get to you. Well, they came in the next morning, she was fired. So I was not a happy camper with that. So I went to the news media, I went to the government and said, look, these are not crimes that should be sitting in front of a district court. This is truancy. Putting somebody in jail for that, folks, I have to agree with them, is not what it's supposed to be. You can put that person sitting in jail because they weren't sending their kids to school next to a rapist, next to somebody who does robberies, next to a murderer. Now, one, it's kind of hard to sit there in jail and say, what are you here for? I just send my kids to school. Oh, really? I'm a mass murderer. That's what they were expecting. But as soon as I started complaining about that, news media, politicians all gave me horns and tails. It's my fault. Folks, I was taking phone calls from Reuters in Germany. I was getting phone calls from Texas, California, everywhere, because I was a bad guy, reporting this poor woman in jail. I'm the one who got her an attorney. The public defender's office didn't want to represent her, so I said, wait a minute, she's looking at a jail term. That's the rules of court. You must represent her. So we got her. She was sentenced to 48 hours. I wanted to clear her record. $8,000 is what she owed. $4,000 in fines, $4,000 in fees to constables. This is what we're looking at here. Government keeps saying they want to cut down the cost, but they keep tying the hands of everybody, and it's a revolving door. These folks walk out to go before the constables of the police when they're brought into court. They're turned around and released, taking in no money. Constables get paid for that. Sheriff's Department gets paid for that. Fact is, you pay for that. In 1978, when I started in police work, a stop sign fine was $25. The costs were $10. Today, that same stop sign is still a $25 fine. The costs are $130-some. They tell me we're not supposed to put people in jail as a debtor's prison. It's not. We're not putting people in jail for debtor's prison. People are going to jail because they drive with their license, they drive without insurance, they ruin your cars. They're still on the road, and they don't show for court hearings. If I can get you there, I can help you. But if you hide, and the news media says, oh, we're putting you in jail because it's a debtor's prison. It's not. It's not, folks. Do you have to pay your violations? Everybody here fractures the speed limit law. There's nobody out here that says they can't. We don't look at that speedometer all the time. So we do. It's just the way it is. You have to pay your fine. These folks don't. This is not social economics, folks. This is just people who don't care and want to hide. A couple of weeks ago, there was a big article in the paper about some woman claiming, well, the judge gave me 10 minutes smoke with $1,000. She owed $8,000. He had set her up to show up 8 times. She didn't show up. So the newspaper made her the poster child as she's sitting there with $300 sneakers, $70 nails, and $3,000 of tattoos. You don't have to pay the fines. This is what the courts deal with. This is why they tie our hands. But I'm here about truancy, folks. Truancy is it's a problem because we don't have mothers at home anymore. We don't have families that are what we would consider a family. What we have is kids ruling the roost. So we started a program here in Muhlenberg. I can't get the rest of the county to move. It doesn't cost you a stinking dime. It really doesn't. It costs you the price of printing what we call a 30-day watch book. 30-day watch consists of the student goes to school every day, and every class they walk into, they give the teacher a book. It's like a day timer. The teacher signs that book. They make some comments about if the kid passed, if the kid was doing, participated. And at the end of the night, they're supposed to take that home and have mom or dad sign that book for 30 days. If you complete that 30 days, I believe I've stopped the habit. We do not have a whole lot of recidivism. We really don't. We have dropped from probably 400 cases a year to this year alone, 48. They don't get it, folks. They'd rather throw money at it. I can't do this if I don't get the teachers involved, if I don't have the resources from the school. Reddit has a very good one, Kirk Singleton. He's the guy that goes out and knocks on the doors. He's the guy that sees these kids in school. Muhlenberg is slow. Muhlenberg is slow. The reason I have that is because I have 2 high schools. I got the Reddit Muhlenberg Tech, and I got Muhlenberg. Muhlenberg is very slow, I'll tell you that. But we're down to 48 cases, for over 400. We've made a mark. I can't get anybody to come and listen to it. I can't get anybody to come and watch. When I was the president of the judicial courts of our organization here, I could not get anybody to come and sit in and watch what we do. They're spending $1 million a year throughout the school districts for truancy abatement. $1 million. Doesn't work. It's not working anywhere. Some of the courts in the city are wholesale wiping out 300-400 cases at a time. They rewrote the law. Well, they'll tell you they rewrote the law, but they still left in the caveat, you can do 5 days in jail if you don't send your kids to school. I just don't agree with that. But what it is child abuse. Because you don't send your kids to school, because your kids are coming out of school, they can't write cursive, they can't read cursive, can't do math. Math is a joke today. They're never going to get to the moon. They're going to miss it by 1,000 miles and keep on going. I don't know what the answer is with some of these folks, but we better start watching Harrisburg. We really got to start watching Washington. Because as soon as they got involved in our education system, it's in the toilet. Literally, in my courtroom, I've got the Declaration of Independence hanging on one wall, and I've got the Gettysburg Address on the other wall. I have had kids sitting in there looking at the Declaration. They get it because it says Declaration of Independence on it. They ask me if it's real. Yeah, they literally asked me, is that real? So I asked them if they would like to go down to Washington, D.C. and see the real one. But in a backhanded way, I said, well, I don't know. Maybe you want to go read the letter from my friend Abe. He wrote that a few hundred years ago, 150 years ago. And they want to look at it. They don't get it. They do not know history. They don't even know the days of the Second World War. I don't know what they're teaching. And I had some great teachers at Muhlenberg. Love them. I still keep in touch with a lot of them. There's a lot of them people I never would have thought you would have been a district judge. I look at admit it. If I was in school on Friday, I probably wasn't going to be there on Monday. I'd have been in my own class. I'd have been going through my own truancy abatement in my time. When I graduated at 17 years of age from Muhlenberg, it was the only time I ever made the honor roll. The teacher said all along, you can do that, and I proved it to myself. And when I proved it to myself, well, yeah, I can do that. And then I went to the military. That's where I actually grew up, folks. That's where I grew up. And I have to stop learning. I will not stop the education. I am not an attorney. I don't want to be an attorney. I have to have your brain sucked out of your head to be an attorney. Because there is no common sense. They don't want to see common sense. They don't want to hear common sense. This program that we have, the 30-day watch, is common sense. Nobody listens. I don't care anymore. I'm elected to my last term. I'm going to keep doing what I do. Because I have kids coming into me in their, in their cap and gown and thank you. That's a win. Those are the things that I stay here for. Now, folks are going to be making some more changes. They got proposals for new rules. Today, when you get a citation, you are required to respond to that citation within 10 days. They're going to make that 30 days. That gives them 30 days to move into 4 or 5 different addresses so that nobody can find them. And folks are so transient today, even with these truancy cases, I have parents that come in that have lived in the addresses I have for them for 3 addresses ago. And they finally pick them up at some party, some block party, some family gathering where somebody got upset and they run a check and say, oh, you have a warrant. That's the only way we get them. But if we can get them in, if we can get them to the courts, we can succeed. These kids really do want an education. Most of them will tell you straight out. The reason they're doing so well today is because somebody's watching. Somebody's finally watching. At one year, we had him on for 45 days. He went from failure to fees in 45 days. I asked him why it was so easy. He said, because I knew you were watching. He graduated. So when you start seeing these folks that are driving out there with no driver's license, the fact of the matter is this: they're on your roads. If they don't have a driver's license, you think they care about insurance? No. They're on your roads. That's your insurance that's going to have to pay. So I have them coming in 8, 9 times, driving under suspension. And the police, a lot of times, will make it so that they got cited for driving without a license. That just staves off the inevitability. In my court, you come in on your 4th time, the rule says you get sentenced to jail. Guess how many times I get called to the carpet for following the same thing that I was sworn up on. Twice I've been up to the Judicial Conduct Board. Why? Because I yelled at the house. When they're wrong, they're wrong. They don't have a problem with yelling at you. They need to be heard. They also need to hear the truth. Some of these guys do have egos. I have an ego. somebody the other guy took it. I didn't go and cry. Fine. What they did to me up there is slapped their wrist and said, don't do that again. No, I don't do it. I have no reason to. I don't really care to. I make my ruling and I don't care. They don't like it. Fine, try to appeal. Can't appeal my ruling, especially in a traffic violation. But they're not always correct. They aren't. They blink. They make mistakes. They're human. But I will tell you this, the guys that I have working in Muhlenberg and Marlboro right now are probably doing millions of dollars of promo work and making their department look better. And believe it or not, commissioners don't like that. Commissioners don't like when people get found not guilty. Commissioners don't like that stuff because they're not getting money. But if they had to buy that public, I don't know what's the term, I'm thinking here. Public relations, they're getting it cheap because these police are working with people. They get it. That's why I like working with these guys. I left police work in 2000 not because I wanted to get out, but because the chief of police who was there at that time was crooked. Didn't take money, but the individual who ran the township went to jail for 4.5 years, so I can tell you what I deal with. I got out of there, and this opportunity came up, so I took it. I'm not going to give it up. Right now, I am doing this as long as I was in Muhlenberg. So I've got 19 years here. I left there after 19 years. I'd still be there today if we'd have had the chief of police that was there when I was there. His name was Harley Smith. He passed away a few years ago. A lot of people didn't like him because he was hard-nosed. He cared. He believed in the law. Sometimes he bent it. That's how it works. Folks, I want to talk to you about the rules of criminal procedure that they're proposing. Here's 49 pages of changes. When I was saying about the 30 days, what they want us to do now is nobody goes to jail. And I can't even sentence anybody to jail or hold them, even if they've not shown up 9 times, because I have to determine if they can afford to pay their fines. Well, they wouldn't be adding all these courses, all these court costs, $130 for a $25 stop sign. Maybe they could. I don't know what they do with all of it. You remember there was a no-fault insurance law. Anybody remember the no-fault insurance law? When they finally got smart and did away with that, they owed $90 million. So they added a $30 surcharge on citations to pay off that $90 million. Folks, they write 2 million citations a year. Figure it out. That $90 million was gone in a year and a half. That was 20 years ago. What are they doing with that money? Ask them. Nobody can tell me. It's still out there. Those fees are still there. It's sort of like all that tax that we paid for the Spanish-American War in, what, 1895? Remember your phone bills? You were paying that tax until about 10, 15 years ago, and they gave us all $30. Woo! After they collected it for 100 years. I'm getting to it, I don't want to get here. I just want to talk to you about this, what's going on. Folks, until I can get them in, and get them, if I get them in, it doesn't mean going to night court, because the night courts will interview them. They schedule a hearing at my court. 4 out of every 5 don't bother to show. So now I have to reissue a warrant to go back out there. That's $110 that gets paid back. You pay that $110 because I'm never going to collect it. There are people on payment plans through 2032. Some of these courts are $5 a month for like 20 citations. I don't agree with that. I do a $50 a month payment plan. If they can afford a cell phone, they can afford to have their nails done, they can afford a haircut, they can afford the $50 a month payment plan. But folks, they don't come in and pay. If I can get them in, they come in to talk to me, I'll work with anybody. If I can get them in. That's the biggest problem. Because they know the system is geared towards, if I don't get you in, I can keep going. I've got people who don't run for 4 years. I don't know. Maybe they clean up their act in 4 years. But most of them are coming in and asking for community service. In some of these truancy cases, I I've had people go to church, not to sit in the pew. I don't want to babysit the kids. I don't want to clean up at the church. I try to get 30 hours out of the kid. Not the parent. It's not the parent, it's the kid. It works. Because I had kids come in and me go, Pastor, I had a good time. And they stay there. They tell me I'm not supposed to do that. I let the kid go to the church of his choice. I don't care if it's the church of the Holy Heathen, as long as they go to a church. But folks, yeah, we're dealing with such a large variety of people out there. They don't look at it the same as we do. Today it's supposed to be give it to me for free. I don't know. I had a guy from the Dominican Republic yesterday who told me that, and he's on his 6th trial. I said, dude, if I get you again, you're going to jail. I said, if you go to jail, you're an illegal alien. What are they going to do with you? He said, they don't send me back for that. I said, you want to bet? 2 years ago they didn't. Today they do. I have kids where the parents are illegal aliens and they work every day. The kids get into the normalcy of being around our kids. So they start thinking like our kids. I said, they were born here, they've grown up here. They are our kids. But I have to point out to them, you've never been to Mexico. If your parents get picked up because you're not going to school, they get shipped back. You're going too. It's a paper line because I doubt if they would ever do it. But the possibility of it happening should be there. Right now, with everybody, I've got people here 10, 15 years, 20 years. We need to find a way. They are working. I don't know if the company's not sending you the tax money. I know of one company out in Woolburg got went to jail for 5 years. He had a lot of people that were illegal. And he wasn't sending in the tax money. Those folks are working. Some of those companies, folks, make these people work 7 days a week. And when the kids hit 16 years of age, they're expected to come in to work also at 1 o'clock in the morning. After school, they're going to work at 1 o'clock in the morning. Folks, we fought a civil war back in the 1860s to end slavery, and we're allowing it to walk in our back door. Because they're paying them dirt, but they're making them work. And we can't get a politician to look at that. Why not? Why not? News media will think we're evil. There's a news media. Is anybody here from the news media? I'm not going to try and beat you up, but folks, there's a lot of stuff out there. It's like no one would have known that that woman died if I would not have complained. No one. Nobody would have said a word. The politicians, the news media, nothing. So I went to my friends at the news media and I wanted to get it out there. That needs to be taken off the criminal books. It really does. For the first time, I'll say I agree with the ex-mayor. It needs to be taken out. There needs to be something done. I just had a woman today. No, she's not a woman. She's 16 years of age. She's been here for 5 years. She goes to Berks school district. She doesn't speak a lick of English. But to get out of it, she now has a baby. The baby father is there. He's the only one who speaks English. Mom doesn't. This is what we're dealing with. We need to understand the money that we're losing should be reinvested in teaching English, in getting these kids to school. They're here, folks. We're not going to send them back. They're just not going to do it. Politicians aren't going to do it. So we need to bring them into the fold. And as soon as they're here, we're going to benefit from it. Because most of these folks aren't as bad as somebody else will tell you. And I'm talking about folks that come all the way up here. They travel to get here. And they're here illegally? Absolutely. I didn't open the gate. Did you? But they're here. The politicians aren't listening. You do not have their ear. So we better start thinking of different ways of handling it. Thinking outside the box. We need to have people that are in office that think outside the box. See the Air Force guy. If we don't get this now, we're going to pay tenfold later. We're starting to pay it now. Well, it's going to be worse later. How much money do you know how much we spend per week for interpreters here in Berks County? One interpreter, $3,000 a week. $3,000 a week. That's taxpayers' money. They don't pay for that. I now have to have an interpreter for a wedding. I now have to have an interpreter interpreter for arraignment, which is good, because I want them to understand what they're being charged with. I have to have interpreters for witnesses, victims. If I've got 4 victims against 1 victim, I have to have an interpreter for each victim. Each victim. Because that's what it is. 57 languages we're paying for. 57. Not only Spanish, folks. We don't get that, don't go there. It's 57 languages. So now we're putting in phone systems so that we can actually talk to them at the window. So my staff can actually talk to them through an interpreter at the window. We have a system in my court. I can sit on my bench. I have a camera system. I freeway with an interpreter. It costs you $2 a minute. You pay that bill. Folks, this is what I mean about we need to think outside the box. I'd rather have that than have to pay $3,000 a week for one, for that $2 a minute, because I'm only on for 10 minutes with them. I don't have them running all over the county, and most of these interpreters are coming in from 3 and 4 counties out. So you pay their way in, you pay their way out, they're bouncing around 17 different courts, and they're also handling every court that's open during the day at the courthouse. So they've been on daunting jobs. They're really busy. That's not their fault. It's not our fault. I don't know who we can blame for that. But I know a few politicians that need to start thinking outside the box. I know a whole lot of politicians need to start thinking outside the box. And this is not one party, folks. This is both sides of the aisle. Just so you know, I'm not banging on anybody here. Both sides of the aisle. We keep them there too long. I don't know about Supreme Court justice. They stay for their life. I can stay, you said 70. We can now stay for 75. Folks, the DJ who stays after 70 is just stealing from you, because all they're doing is rubber stamping. They do not have the energy to put into sitting at that bench for 6 hours a day. I'm 63. I'm struggling at 63. There are days I just want to, I have to find a reason for doing that. But I keep going in because there's one more kid down. Really, I got nothing else to say. I had to get that out. Pay attention, 49 pages of rule changes. They're not going to benefit us. They're not going to protect us. I don't see any reason as to why some of these aren't good, but let's put it in there. If you get caught 5th time driving, you're going to go to jail because you violated enough rules. This is every day. There's 2 million people on the roads of Pennsylvania at any given time. And right now, I can tell you in Berks County, we probably have about 2,000 people on our license to drive. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Dean. Folks, we need more district justices like Dean Patton. Let's give him a big hand. Great justice, Dean Patton. Folks, before Helen comes up, I just want to, before I go to the mic, I just want to remind you, please take a moment, stop by the Berks Oath Keepers table. There is Sue and Rudy back there, good friends. Please, talk to them a little bit. And Helen, she's going to be introducing our main speaker, but she also has another announcement. Don't you, Helen?
Well, you and I bet. We want to welcome to our meeting tonight the best sheriff in all of Pennsylvania, and that's Sheriff
Eric Greenback.
Love you. All right. Well, good evening, Patriots. Welcome. Thank God you're here. I just want to begin my introduction by saying that I am so darn proud of my friend, Bobby Lawrence. He is a true patriot who loves this country and is willing and doing everything he can to protect our republic. Tonight, he will inform you of the direct assaults on our constitutional republic. Most imminent is the assault on our electoral college. Has everybody heard about it? Okay. He will explain what we need to do to defend it and why we must not lose it. He will also get into future attacks that are right now in the process of being planned. Right, Bobby?
Yes, yes.
Gosh. Listen up, Patriots, and take note. Since our country needs our help, and we must be willing to stand strong against these onslaughts who jeopardize losing the freedom and liberties that made this country the greatest country on earth. We must understand what is happening and prepare to stop our enemies at every single level. If we do not take up the banner in defense of our country, then we may have to explain to our grandchildren what America used to be like. Don't want to do that, right? Bobby is a former candidate for the U.S. Senate. He's a former vocational education teacher. He is a member of the Franklin County Republican County Executive Committee.
Yes.
Yes. And he's the current president of EMR Windows and Doors, and so much more. The list goes on and on when I was reading his bio. But tonight, Bobby's speaking as the founder of Protect Your Road, which is a national effort, isn't it, Bobby?
Yes, it is. It's a grassroots national effort, yeah.
Bobby's bio clearly confirms, and I love this part, he is pro-life, pro-small government, pro-border wall, and he proudly stands for the flag.
Yes, indeed.
Amen.
Yes, indeed.
Help me welcome Bobby Lawrence.
Wow, thank you, thank you. What an introduction. Thank you so much, Helen. I want to say thank you to everybody for coming out tonight in the rain, the sunshine, the rain, one of them. I think we had all three, right? So, my two favorite words since the election in 2016, and I love saying this when I'm in the crowd with a bunch of snowflakes, is President Trump. And it sends them over the roof. Isn't it nice? You know, Michelle Obama said that when the country elected her husband, it was the first time in her lifetime that she was proud of the United States. That made me sick. How about now is the first time in January 20th, that beautiful day that he was inaugurated. Isn't it nice to be proud of our president once again? Yes, indeed. You know, Donald Trump talks about Make America Great. And I was doing a rally with Pastor Mark Burns and a few other Patriots down in Atlanta, Georgia, a month ago. And Cowboys for Trump was there, and he was telling the story about what Make America Great means to the president. He knows this because he had a 20-minute conversation with Donald Trump about it. Make America Great does not mean that we make our roads, our bridges, it doesn't mean that stuff. It doesn't mean, what it means is we make America great. And what makes up America is the people. So Donald Trump believes this with every ounce of his being, that we have to make the American people feel safe again. We have to make the American people prosperous again. We have to make the American people safe to say, God bless America, and I love the USA. And he believes that when we do that, when we make all of us great again, the country will prosper. And he believes that he works every single day to make that happen. So, we all know about these DC Democrats. They want to kill babies. They want to take over their elections, federalize them. They want to do all kinds of crazy things. They want socialism. They want to do away with electoral college. They want to take away your firearms. They want to do so many things that make absolutely no sense. Test. That one's giving me some problems. Okay, so in order for them to implement this thing called democratic socialism, guess what they need to do? They need to turn us into a democracy. Well, after Donald Trump was inaugurated in January, I was looking and I thought, well, you know, he kind of motivated me. You know, if he can do it, the rest of us can do it, right? So I started looking and watching what Harrisburg was doing. And I found this piece of legislation that was a land grab. And our state senator down there, Rich Alloway, he went, after I beat him up on the radio and on social media, he kind of took his name off that bill. It was a riparian buffer bill. The next piece of legislation I found was something called the National Popular Vote. Folks, I didn't sleep for 3 days. There was so much reading to do to find out what this was. And it was an attempt to do away with the Electoral College. It started immediately, almost immediately, after the election of George Bush in 2000. Remember the Supreme Court case in 2000? And the hanging chads? Yeah. Yes. Well, Barack Obama and a few other folks from Stanford, from Berkeley, from Princeton, from the Chicago University School of Law, they got together and they said, how can we stop this from happening again? And Barack Obama at the time was on the board of directors for the Joyce Foundation as he was studying constitutional law. Okay? And he approved a grant in 2001 to the Center for Voting and Democracy, and they came up with this idea. They started putting it all together. Well, it went through a couple different phases, a couple different name changes. 2007, the first state joined this national popular vote movement. Now, one would think, because I'm thinking to myself, one would think that in order to change the Electoral College, you have to change the Constitution, right? We all know that it's in the Constitution, right? That's the first response, is how they're going to change the Constitution. Well, the way they're doing it is they're using the Supreme Court ruling from 2000. Bush versus Gore, which said that the states are plenary, which means they're supreme and ultimate. Under Article 2, Section 1, Paragraph 2, Line 1 of the Constitution, I'm trying to fit 3 hours into 45 minutes. That's why I'm going so fast, all right? Because believe me, there's so much ground to cover, folks. It blew my mind. So anyhow, where was I at? The Electoral College. So how they're doing it is that Supreme Court ruling in 2000, it said that the Supreme Court justices went on to write that there is no constitutional requirement for the states to even hold an election for the President of the United States. It's actually written. It's up to the state legislature to decide how the electors of the Electoral College are allotted or allocated. Yes, it's in the Constitution. The Article 2 rather, Section 1, Paragraph 2, Line 1, states that the state legislatures shall decide. So they use that sentence. A conservative Supreme Court will likely uphold it because the states retain that right. So if the Supreme Court's not going to save us from it, like they saved us from Obamacare, right? So we have to do this state by state. Well, when I discovered they had 96 electoral delegates in this compact, today they have 196. A Facebook page 2 years ago, recruited about 2,000 people within 30 days. The first year that Donald Trump was president, it was in 26 states in 35 state legislators, or state legislatures, okay? And that year they did not move one piece of legislation. There was no state joining. Our team mobilized, we took it serious, and we stopped them. We were the only national organization of grassroots volunteers that was fighting to defend our electoral college, our republic form of electing the president, okay? So the next year we lost a few, and then this year we lost a few, but these are some good successes that we've had in the past 2 years. We actually stopped it in Michigan. We actually stopped it in Michigan. Michael Steele, you know who he is. He is a paid consultant for the National Popular Vote movement. So is Saul Anusis out of Michigan. They took some Republican legislators, flew them to Hawaii for a couple days, convinced them that the National Popular Vote movement was a good thing. They came back, this is last year, they came back and within a week they had introduced legislation and held a hearing on it and passed it out of the committee. We shut them down and they changed their votes. They removed their names from sponsorships. We stopped it in Michigan, stone cold. We stopped it in Maine, thank you. We stopped it in Maine this year, just on Wednesday. Maine's kind of weird. Maine has 3 votes in their state house and 3 votes in their Senate. 3 stages in each one. Well, they had 5 votes of approval. With 1 vote to go before it went to the governor's desk for signature, we flipped to 7 of the 11 Democrats. And it was voted down in Maine. It passed in Nevada. It passed both houses, both chambers in Nevada this year. And the Nevada governor, a Democrat, vetoed the National Popular Vote movement. And the reason for that was they said the voices of the opposition could not be ignored. Well, we're the only opposition, our team. There's 5,000 of us now, almost 6,000. They couldn't ignore us. The Facebook group that I started has a 62% activity rate. Now Facebook, most of your Facebook groups, if you get 10% activity, that's doing good. Well, my group has a 62% activity rate. That means that they respond to the posts, they take action, they like it, they share it, they comment on it. It's unheard of. So it's a very active group. We did lose Colorado. We stopped it in New Hampshire. We stopped it in Virginia. We stopped it in South Carolina. I can go on and on. There's 12 of them we stopped it. They only got 4. We got 12. We're beating them. We're beating them. The more we expose them, the less traction they get. So let me talk a little bit about why we have the Electoral College. I assume everyone here knows why we have the Electoral College, but some of the folks watching on YouTube and on Facebook may not. We have the Electoral College because we are 50 states. We're 50 sovereign states. So those 50 sovereign states, in order to become president in a republic, they have the president, the person to be president, the candidate has to win a majority of those 50 states. So this last presidential election, everybody, Hillary says she won the popular vote. Well, she did. But we don't elect the president. We're not a direct democracy. You see, the Democrats need a direct democracy because they only have to campaign in California, Los Angeles County, New York, and maybe Chicago. And they win the presidency, disenfranchising the entire rest of the country. Judicial Watch filed suit just this year and won the suit in California. 1.5 million illegal voters had to be removed from the voter rolls. 1.5 million. Judicial Watch won that. In Philadelphia, there was 100,000 alone. In one district, just outside of Philadelphia, there was 110% turnout for Hillary Clinton. Now, how can they have more votes than people who live in a district? It's a mathematical impossibility. Exactly. They thought the dead people up and voted. In California, in the 2018 midterms, Republicans have to stop voting on election day, but the Democrats keep voting for 3 more days. It's called ballot harvesting. I'm not making this up. They go out and knock on doors, hunting for votes. It's unbelievable what they're doing to our republic. It burns my goat when I hear a politician or someone on TV who's supposed to be intelligent say, we have democracy. No, we don't. If we had a democracy, Hillary Clinton would be president. We are a republic. what is the difference between a republic and a democracy? I get fired up about this because this is our country. This is our future. Men and women gave their lives so that we can stand up here and talk about the beautiful thing that is the United States of America. All we have to do to keep it is educate ourselves and vote. The men and women who gave us this country stood up in fields and took, look at that picture. They stood up in a field and they had 50 caliber, 53 caliber balls of lead slung at them, ripping arms off their body, piercing their abdomens. They would lay and take days to die. That's the people that gave us the idea that personal freedom leads to individual liberty. And we exercise those in pursuit of our happiness, not what the government tells us we can do. And these politicians don't know that. Now, when I ran for Senate, I decided I want to talk about liberty and freedom. I want to know what liberty and freedom means. Maybe I better look them up. So I looked up liberty first, just by chance. How many of you ever looked up the word liberty in dictionary? I never did. And I have a teaching certificate. Figured I better look it up. So I did. Liberty is defined freedom from, freedom to, and freedom of. So if liberty is defined by freedom, maybe I better go look up freedom. Freedom is the ability to exercise your free will in pursuit of your liberties. So that means something. That all can start to come together for me. So a republic form of government with 50 sovereign states. At that time it was 13 sovereign states who for some crazy reason decided they'd make a federal government. Made sense at the time. So I thought, a republic form of government. Personal freedom. We have to have personal freedom to exercise individual liberties in pursuit of our happiness as we define it within the rule of law. And we created the federal government and the state governments to defend those two things. And we delegated to them those two things being personal freedom and individual liberty. And we delegated to them the ability to make laws to protect those first two. And in a republic form of government, we have a Senate and we have a House. The U.S. Senate is known as the upper chamber. You know why it's known as the upper chamber? Because it happened to be upstairs in Independence Hall. The lower chamber was downstairs. It's not that the Senate has more power or more control. It actually has less because they don't have control of the pocketbook. So that's how words mean things and how, that's like Cincinnati. Does anybody know how Cincinnati got their name? This is a side story. Cincinnati, there was a Roman warrior called Cincinnatus. And they nicknamed George Washington, the Patriots who fought beside George Washington, nicknamed George Washington Cincinnatus because he was a patriot. And he came and he fought the war and he went home. He came and he served as president and he went home. He didn't want to be king.
Yep.
The people are to rule themselves, not a king. They just fought in war to throw off a king. So these patriots, these generals who fought alongside George Washington used to meet in a place that they named, we're going to Cincinnatus. So it became Cincinnati. The Roman warrior Cincinnatus fought, and then he would go home. The general, high ranking. And then he'd go home. He didn't want to stay in Rome and rule, be in charge of all those men. So that history of Cincinnati, George Washington lived it. And that's how I got Cincinnati. So why we have a House and why we have a Senate is because the senator's first duty, you know, I have a pretty big Facebook following, or I did before they started shadow banning me. And we had 14 million, I think. Alex, let me introduce you to Alex. Alex, stand up over here. Alex, a young man. His name's Berks. He was my first campaign volunteer. How old were you when you started, when you volunteered? 15 years old. I talked to this young man for 10 minutes, and I said, do you want to be the leader in my campaign? He was in charge of all our social media. At 15 years old, he had more intelligence than 90% of my campaign volunteers. It just impressed me. So if you doubt the future of our nation, if they can take over and they know what liberty and freedom is, right there's an example. It is possible. I salute you, young man. He is now on the ballot to be a city councilman, right? Whoa. And he's running unopposed. And tell him he's 18, just graduated school. The intern for Vice President Mike Pence is looking to go back again this summer. Very unique individual. Makes me proud to know him. So anyway, so very good. I salute you, young man. Bright future ahead. So let me back up. The senators, these people that run for these offices now, because I did have such a huge Facebook following, they looked to me and they asked me for an endorsement. The latest one was from North Carolina. Garland is the man's name. He wanted me to endorse him, to run for U.S. Senate. I said, fine. Why do you want to be a senator? What's your first duty as a U.S. senator in a republic form of government? Didn't know the answer, but he wanted to know. The first duty of a U.S. senator is to jealously guard state sovereignty from federal government overreach. Because a state that is not sovereign can guarantee no freedoms or liberties to its citizens. A representative, U.S. House of Representatives, their first duty is to jealously guard, and it's written this way, jealously guard the people they represent, to jealously guard their freedoms, their personal freedoms. And these politicians do not know that. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about something. It's real quick. Chris Ann Hall. Does anybody know who Chris Ann Hall is out of Florida? She speaks on the Constitution very eloquently. She tells a story. This is where we're at as a society. We're all on vacation, and we're in Florida. Our car is sitting at our house. Somebody breaks into our house and steals our car and all of our stuff. We're in Florida. We don't know it's been stolen. Are we mad about it? Are we upset? Do we know it's been stolen? No, we don't, because we're in Florida. Okay? Only when we get home and we discover what's been stolen from us are we justifiably PO'd. We're justifiably upset. Because we now have knowledge of what's been stolen from us. So, only when we know, only when we teach our children the freedoms that have been stolen from them by these crooked politicians, will they be upset about it. Now here's one thing. I'm kind of a guy, this is what most folks tell me, I hit hard and I hit deep when I give a speech. So here comes the hard, deep part, all right? Please forgive me for what I'm about to do. We're patriots, right? Yes. Are we patriots? Yes. How many of us can name the first 5 freedoms, the first 5 liberties, excuse me, that are enshrined in the First Amendment? There are 5. How many of you know them? What are they? The freedom of the press, the right to petition your government, freedom of religion. There's 2 more. What are they? Assembly, and what's the other one? petitions. 5 of them. We should know them like bam, 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 bam. Because we're patriots. We should be teaching our children that. Because we are patriots. Do not take that word lightly. That means something. It means that men reached over the mantle and got their hunting rifle and kissed their wife on the cheek and patted their children and hugged them and walked out the door not knowing if or when they were going to come back. That's what a patriot is. Today's patriot means that you're not ashamed to say, I love this country. God bless America. And yes, God bless Donald Trump, because he is a divine intervention. And I'm fed up with this DC craziness that's going on down there. There are no Russians in the room, right? Because we'll take you out back and shoot you right now. Okay. So folks, this national popular vote movement is very close to getting done. It's very close. They only need they have 196. In January 2020, my estimates from my team are about $50 million are going to be spent in the month of January alone, trying to get some states to flip. It was here in Pennsylvania, 189, HB 189, all Democrats. Far too many Republicans are backing it. Arizona State House, Republican control. They passed it in 2016. Michael Steele, former Republican Party national chairman, is a paid consultant for them. Solonusis is a paid consultant for them, Michigan Republican Party. Far too many Republicans do not know what it means to have a republic form of government and why we have a bicameral system. 1913. People, folks, do you think that Barack Obama was a bad president? Yeah. Yes, he was. Let me tell you about one that was even worse. His name was Woodrow Wilson. He gave us the 16th Amendment, which allowed the IRS no constitutional balance, no constitutional check. They can come to your house and put you on the curb and take every dime you got in the bank and don't have to go to a judge and prove a case. They don't even have to get a warrant. They can tax you as an individual. The 17th Amendment changed the way we elect our U.S. senators. Our U.S. senators used to be elected by our state representatives. And they changed it to a popular vote. Well, guess what? Now in Pennsylvania, we have Harrisburg, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh elects our senators. Elects our governor. We have no state sovereignty with the federal level at all. You think Bob Casey understands what I just talked about? Pat Toomey, fellow Republican, Ronald Reagan, may he rest in peace. His 11th commandment, and that's it. Without Pat Toomey, we would not have had Neil Gorsuch. Without Pat Toomey, we would not have Kavanaugh. That's how close it was. That's how close it was. So, how many of you watched Donald Trump's presidential announcement speech from Florida? Wasn't that awesome or what? Remember what he talked about? Only one president in history's ever seen more federal judges than him by a percentage. That was George Washington. I used to beat the living daylights out of Mitch McConnell when I got one of these things in my hands. And I finally got a chance to be in the same room with him and listen to him talk a little bit. And he started talking about the judiciary. And how, at the time, I think it was 68 federal judges. Of course, they broke 100. And he said, these are lifetime appointments. Donald Trump has changed the judicial outcomes for this country for the next 50 years, at a minimum. At a minimum. That's the impact that Donald J. Trump has had on the future of this country. His reach will carry through for 50 years. It took Donald Trump about a year and a half to erase Barack Obama. They're not going to erase those judges that Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell have seated and are continuing to seat. They're not going to erase that. That's not an executive order. All right? So how do we fight them? How do we fight this? Folks, if we lose a Republican form of electing our president, we will never again have a conservative president. Because Pennsylvania won't matter. 3 cities, 3 counties have more population in them than about 17 states combined. This is the single biggest threat to our republic ever. Ever. I talked to Mark Levin. Y'all know who Mark Levin is? I had a chance to talk to Mark Levin at CPAC about this. I said, Mark, do you know about this national popular vote movement? He was walking outside the place. He stopped. He walks like this. Big guy. Big guy. I remember I got this much from him. Big guy. He stopped. He looked around. Yes, I do. Squared up with me. I said, I just started a Facebook group 2 years ago. We've been fighting it. I told him a few things about what we had won. He said, great work. Keep it up. It's a big threat. Big danger is what he said. Big danger. And you listen to him talk on the radio, he's talked about it a few times. Yes, it is the biggest danger. Will the Supreme Court overturn it? Probably not. Even more so since there are conservative judges on there. They'll uphold state sovereignty. So how do we make it, how do we stop them? How we stop them is how I created that Facebook group and mobilized people, grassroots people all across this country to make a difference. By writing emails, by making phone calls, by telling your friends about it. And when you tell your friends about it, you know, the hardest thing for me when I first started the group was keeping people motivated and keeping them on point with what was going on. The first thing they would say was, that'll never happen. Got to change the Constitution. Need 2/3. Wait a minute, that's not how they're doing it. Oh, you're crazy. Go on. Just get repentant. Hey, I'm trying to tell you something here. Stop being this little meme, because they wouldn't listen. People they didn't care. They thought it was crazy. Oh, Democrats, side rapes, Donald Trump will fix it. Folks, Donald Trump's one man. He's got 6 years left. What are we going to do after Donald Trump? Huh? Here's the thing. Every one of us can make a difference. And we have made a difference. We have a president because we thought we could make a difference. Hillary Clinton is not in the White House because we thought we could make a difference. The country, the nation, the 13 sovereigns that we now call the United States exist because people thought they could make a difference.
Yes. Yes.
And you believe it with divine providence, it says. They pledged their life, their liberty, and their fortunes. That's the level of commitment that is needed right now, today, that is needed in every election. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we are at war. We are at war. When they want to kill babies after they're born, we are at war. When they want to take away your firearm because you don't need it, we are at war. Believe it or not, this is what a civil war looks like in today's terms. It's fought when a teacher, when Sarah Huckabee Sanders goes into a restaurant and she's attacked. We're at war. When Charlie Kirk at Turning Point USA came to Simmons, goes to Philadelphia, and they get thrown out of a restaurant and get water thrown on them, we are at war. Forgive me my passion for freedom and liberty. I make no excuses. Do anybody here make excuses? No. We are at war, ladies and gentlemen. The next thing they have coming down the pike is called ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting, their ultimate goal is to do away with districts. Remember, they need direct democracy. How we elect the president is just one thing. They already have the Senate. They did that in 1913. When I say they, I'm talking about globalists. I'm talking about useful idiots. I'm talking about ignorant politicians. They already had the Senate. They're working on the president. They're 196 out of 270. They're well funded. Okay? The next step is ranked choice voting. The ultimate goal is this is how it plays out. Okay? We got, how many we got? 18 representatives here in Pennsylvania, right? Is it 18? Yep, 99. So that means we put up 25 or 30 candidates to run for those House seats. The entire state can vote 18 times. The top 18 vote getters get seated in the House of Representatives. Do you think ever again that your local representative will be elected by you? Harrisburg and Pittsburgh are going to elect the next 18 representatives. Here's the thing, in 2016, Maine already did it. There was a Republican who won the district. Once they factored in ranked choice voting from votes outside the district, the Republican lost the election and they seated the Democrat. It's already working. Maine already did it. It's unbelievable. Folks, we need to watch them like a hawk. They are sneaky. They are well funded. They're like weeds. They will never give up. They will never give up. You mow the weeds, you pick the weeds, and they come back. That's a Democrat. That's a globalist. That's a scumbag. Yes, exactly. So folks, I don't know how to impress upon you. It's not you in the room. You in the room are patriots. We all know at least 3 people, right? Ask those 3 people if they voted. If every one of you get 3 people to vote for Donald Trump, to vote for a true conservative, because there are Republicans who are conservative, to vote for a true conservative, we could change this country. If everybody in the country just got 3 of their friends who don't vote, say, look, this is why you gotta vote. There's only 2 ways, regardless of party, forget party. There's only 2 things you can vote for at the ballot box. One is personal freedom and individual liberty. The other one is bigger, better, best, more government. That's all there is. You either look at Bernie Sanders, look at all of them running for president. They want more government programs, more taxation. Yeah, you got to pay more taxes. Bernie Sanders. The American people will be glad to pay more taxes. Okay, I understand that there's, we're the American people. However, NASA discovered there may be life on other planets. Maybe the America on one of the other planets is what Bernie Sanders was talking about, because he's pretty far out there. Okay, so this is how we make a difference. If you want to find out more about the national popular vote, just Google it. If you want to find out more about ranked choice voting, Google it, and be prepared to stay up for 2 or 3 days reading. Make sure you have your high blood pressure pills with you, all right? Because it will tick you off. This is the attack. While we're being distracted by the craziness that's going on in D.C., while we're being distracted, they're digging holes under the fence, folks. They're digging holes under the fence. It's kind of like this. People that won't listen to you when you talk about the national popular vote, when you talk about things like We need to vote. Here's what Donald Trump does for us. You may like him or may hate him. Look at what he's done. What has he done? The reason that you hate him so much. And you put a microphone and a camera in front of these people and he does, oh, well, he's just a criminal. What's he done? Well, I don't know. There's videos are all over YouTube. Okay? They don't have a clue. They're useful idiots. So, how you make a difference is simply this, and you understand this. All you military gentlemen in here, and ladies, all the military veterans in here know exactly what I'm talking about when I say this next thing. We're in a war. We're in a battle zone. We're in a hot zone. We got incoming fire. And you're in that foxhole with your buddy. And you're telling them to get down. Get down, there's incoming fire. And they want to stand there and say, where? I don't see it. Now, buddy, I'm telling you to get down. The one that stood up is one that catch the lead, right? Because he didn't listen to you, because he was hard-headed. If you're in a foxhole with your buddy and says incoming fire, you better get down. And long-range shot, the bullet gets there before the sound does. Does it not, gentlemen? Yeah. The bullet gets there before you hear it. Get down, there's incoming fire. It could be a puff of smoke over here in the dirt, or a strip through the blade of grass. And you don't hear the bang, but your buddy might have caught that 2 blades of grass go, and he knows instinctively it's incoming fire. Get down. This is what's happened. We got bullets coming through the grass. And I'm telling you folks, we need to hunker down. We need to learn. We need to talk to people. Do not be ashamed to defend this republic. Stand tall and proclaim it, because we are at war. Thank you very much. Any questions? Yes. Let me get this microphone here so everybody can hear you. I want to see the back. Test. There you go. Pass this microphone around. You got it? Okay, very good. We'll take some questions. How are we doing on time? We're good? I can talk for 3 hours, believe it or not. The only reason I stopped was because I need to get a drink of water. Go ahead. Is the microphone on? You might have turned the button off. Make sure the light's on. Now it's working. Go ahead.
Thanks for mentioning the HB 189 that was put into, or introduced into
2017 and 2018.
Judy Schwenk and Mark Robson were co-sponsors of those 2 bills.
Here, let me see that microphone. Hold on. People need to hear what you're saying, darling. Let me see. Okay. Test. Here you go. Wait a minute. You're holding it too tight. Go ahead.
If everybody can hear me out, Mark Rossi and Judy Schwenk were prime sponsors of the National Popular Vote legislation introduced here in Pennsylvania. So I think we need to hold that in our memories for when they come up for re-election again. My question to you, though, is do you think when Donald Trump wins the national popular vote, will that change the position of the states that have already signed on to the compact when they realize that they have to then pledge their electoral college votes to a Republican that they don't want to give them to? Would that cause them to rethink their position on...
Probably not. Did everybody hear a question? If Donald Trump wins the national popular vote, do you think that that'll cause these states that join it to change their support for it? Basically, correct? And the answer to that is no. Because the Democrats are playing the long game. Remember when I told you they started on this quest? It was actually in December, the last week of December of 1999. You know where I found that information? In a textbook. It's under the files section, Alec, of Protect Your Vote, the Facebook group. If you go into Facebook, Protect Your Vote, Facebook, look under the files section. And it says right in NVP, and it is an excerpt from a textbook. Read that, it'll knock your socks off. Yes, another question.
Bobby, what really concerned me, and I've never heard of it before, was this whole thing about getting rid of the districts. And it just hit me, my goodness, the 18 representatives will get elected by Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, right? Is that really that close to happening?
Well, Maine's already done it. Maine's already done it. Now, I have not seen the legislation in very many states, but the state of Maine has already done it. And believe me, that's the next step. It's part of the left's agenda. It's in their long-term plan this is the name of it. This is when they came up with it back in 2004. Fairvote.org came up with this in 2005, I believe, ranked choice voting. They have a plan. They had a plan to change the way we elect the president, the way we elect our representatives. And it was called, I'm trying to think, it was called something 2020. I have to go back and look at it. There's so much up here, I'm surprised it stays in. So I have to go back and look at it, but it was called something 2020. It was, I forget what it was called. It's on fairvotes.org. It's on their website. Fairvote.org. It was a plan. This has been a 20-year plan. A 20-year plan. While Barack Obama was president, 10 states passed the national popular vote. 10 states while he was president. Now remember when Barack Obama was running for president, he announced he was going to run. Well, in 2007, the first state to pass it was Maryland. A few months later, Barack Obama made the announcement. Now remember what I told you he was studying at the Chicago University School of Law. He was studying constitutional law. And he was working for Acorn as a community organizer, a lobbyist. Now, fast forward from 2000 2001, he was on the board of directors for the Joyce Foundation and signed off on a $300,000 grant to get it all started. Now, fast forward, 2007, Martin O'Malley signs it into law in Maryland. And then a few months later, Barack Hussein Obama, AKA Barry Soetoro, not even sure what his name is, he announces he's going to run for president. And he's going to fundamentally transform America. Fundamentally means from its foundation. And he wasn't talking about health care. He was talking about changing us to a pure democracy. And he's working on it today. Yes.
What you're talking about doing away with districts in Pennsylvania, haven't they done it in the back door sort of way right now by gerrymandering?
Very good question. He's talking about the redistricting battle that happened. Remember the debacle we had in the last election?
I have a new representative in the last election, and I'll tell you, she's a doozy. She idolizes Hillary Clinton.
Is that the Muslim? Let me give you a little bit of background on that. Scott Wagner knows all about this too. He talked about it on the campaign trail. The group that came in here and funded that lawsuit, guess who is involved in that? George Soros, Jonathan Soros, and Barack Hussein Obama. Guess who's the main funding agent for the national popular vote? Jonathan Soros. How old's George Soros, folks? He is way up there. Guess who's 10 times worse than his daddy? Jonathan Soros and his wife. That's who's funding the national popular vote. Folks, the distractions that we have from the news media is called bread and circus. Anybody know what bread and circus is? The Roman emperors knew if they kept the circus going, which was the Colosseum in the arena, and they made sure you had a hunk of cheese or some bread for the day, they could pretty much do whatever they wanted because you were fat and happy and entertained. The bread and circus that we allow to fill our lives, we need to put a stop on that. We let cell phones raise our children. We put our children, let me explain this to you. In what country does this sound like? We put our children, by mandate, by law, we have to put our children on a government vehicle and send them to a government building where a government employee teaches them a government-approved curriculum for 12 years of their life, and we don't really know what they're teaching them, and if we don't, they send the government employee around, called a law enforcement officer, to find out why we're not sending them to the government-approved school. What country does that sound like? Russia, Germany, China, Venezuela. Yes. We've got to take our country back and get politics out of the classroom, start teaching our children history again. Yes, sir.
I think the politicians are almost out of the classroom. They don't teach them history, government, POD, or civics.
That's exactly right.
My point I wanted to make, and we're talking Civil War, and I made the point the other day, there's a block of people in this country for various reasons. The millennials, high school kids that are not getting history and they're buying into the system, even some middle and lower class that feel they're not getting their fair share of this economy now. That whole gang, it's inconceivable. Many of those folks will see it any other way, but government will get them something they don't have. The rest of us are saying government is already being more than they ought to be doing, and that's the battlefield that I see. That we're not going to get many of these people to see it our way as long as they know that they think somebody's going to promise them something that they didn't have to get themselves.
Yeah, you're talking about getting something for nothing. The move towards democratic socialism, and how we have someone called Ocasio-Cortez now represent, we're talking about, everybody knows who Ocasio-Cortez is? The little bartender girl that's now represented. Let me finish addressing what he said, okay? We're running out of time. 10 minutes. Hey, fantastic. Usually you're jerking me off with one of them hooks. But Ocasio-Cortez, when she talks about democratic socialism, she makes no sense. It makes no sense. When I talked about raising, we're letting the cell phones raise our children because we have to go to work. We owe, so off to work we go. And this is one of the things that Donald Trump talks about is make America great again, make America wealthy again. Make America safe again. Make America prosperous again. Make America strong again. For we the people to benefit from that. Yes. So we have to start teaching our children again and not let it up to the government. They think all this stuff is free because we allow people, we elect people who believe these things because we don't, all of us, now this is a group of patriots, and we were able to talk about the 5 liberties in the First Amendment. And you folks meet once a month, right? Imagine the people that haven't talked about the Constitution in 20 years, that vote. Are we in danger? Your question, please.
What you're talking about is getting scarier by the minute because it's sounding like a cross or a tossed salad between Agenda 21 and fascism.
Well, yeah, what I'm talking about, yeah, he says fascism and Agenda 21. You notice how Donald Trump has made the push for our country to be sovereign again in trade deals, for our country to be safe again with building the southern border wall. The Democrats are importing their voter base. Barack Obama knew it. Barack Obama did it. That's why you have Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Bernie Sanders, all the Democrats. We need to have, give them driver's license so they can vote. Do you know that only 11 states require identification to vote? Things are bad, folks. Donald Trump isn't going to fix all this. It's an impossible task. One more question, and this lady's got a question.
Yeah, I'm a judge of election.
Yes.
It's true. We do not require identification unless you're registering for the first time to vote or you've moved in this state. Now, my question to you, sir, is this. Has this been passed, this popular vote thing in Pennsylvania? Is there time for us to stop it in the State House?
Good question. Has it passed in Pennsylvania? No. That bill was introduced, and you know this answer. That bill that was introduced went absolutely nowhere. Because Pennsylvania is a battleground state, and it's a swing state, and we know it. And our politicians, although they're ignorant, they're not that stupid. We do have some good politicians. We do have some good politicians in Harrisburg. We do have some good patriots in Harrisburg, folks. We do. We really do. They need to know that we're out here. When we hold a Second Amendment rally in Harrisburg, and we have 20 people show up, that saddens me. This lady here has a question. When the left, when they hold a Second Amendment rally in Harrisburg and they have 400 people show up because they're paid $20 a piece, the politicians see that. They see that because we're busy earning a living, and the left, they're busy earning the $20 so they can lay around and play a video game with it the next day. I mean, that's what we're up against. Folks, this is not an insurmountable battle. All this is going to take is, like I said earlier, is for us to learn what they're doing and tell them about it. And vote. That's all we have to do to turn this ship around. We did it with Donald Trump. We just got to do it every single time now. The midterm turnout was pathetic. Because far too many people, when I post about things on social media and people say, oh, Donald Trump will fix it, the Lord will, and I'm a believer, believe me, I know there's a higher power. I don't have a question about that. I know there is. Sometime I'll tell you the story about how my firstborn daughter was saved by the hand. Very emotional situation. I believe there's a higher power. I know it. And when people post on social media, Donald Trump is anointed, he'll save us. No, he won't. He's one man. We have to follow the light. We have to follow the path that has been illuminated for us and make the difference. Yeah, thank you. Go ahead.
My question to you is the fact that back when Governor Corbett was in office, Pennsylvania people had voter ID passed and signed into law. Why aren't we using it? It is constitutional, and when they say it's not constitutional, the Supreme Court validated it is constitutional to use voter ID.
You're exactly right. The Supreme Court did uphold, the states have the right to require ID.
Right.
They did. So that's a very good question. That's a very good question. So the answer to that is, I've got a pretty full plate, as I'm sure most of you do. The answer to that is, who in this room is going to take up, this is how we make a difference. I want someone in this room to take on that issue that that lady just talked about and find an answer and present it to this group next month. Why aren't they enforcing that legislation that was passed? Did they repeal it? If they repeal it, whoever voted for the repeal needs to be voted out of office. If you don't like your representative now or your state senator now, go find someone to replace them who understands what it means to be a patriot, who knows what personal liberty and individual freedom is. This is your country. We own this country. We own this state. We can make the difference. Thank you very much. did in 2016, did we not? Are we going to do it again in 2020? Are we going to do it again in 2020? Have you had enough in D.C.? Are we going to support that man and giving us back our freedom and liberty? Yes, indeed we are. Yes, indeed we are. Any more questions? Yes. Excuse me if I get too riled up, folks. I'm passionate about this country. Yes, indeed. Yes.
I'd like your opinion on this. I was listening to In the Gap radio, and a woman was speaking about election fraud, where a lot of our new voting machines that are going to be computerized are coming from Canada, from a country that has very close ties to George Soros, and computers can be hacked. I'd like your opinion on...
George Soros owns a majority in several companies that manufacture voting machines. Did I say more? Why don't you get a receipt when you vote? Yes. Where's my receipt of who I voted for? Where's my receipt? You put it in a machine, where did your vote go? You don't know if it's been changed. It's your vote. Somebody stole it from you. We've got a big question over here, and then we're going to take one over there.
Okay. Kind of like leads into it. We're in litigation with the public PA utility company, electric. We're being...
Over the smart meters.
Yes, we're being, and this is what I'm trying to lead to, because we are being threatened, intimidated by having our electric taken off. I've never seen such corruption. I spoke to Wolf. He turned me off. I spoke to his assistant. I today spoke to Gladys Brown, and the fix is in. However, I wrote to Rendell where the law was written, and we have a choice. And the choice is, you know, the people have a choice, and somehow they took Act 129 and twisted it. I don't have the kind of knowledge to do this, but what I'm seeing, and based on what I just found out from you today, it's like the fix is in. It's so corrupt. How do I stop this? How do we handle it? Because right from the very, very top, just like Trump found out, fleeing the swamp, I have it in Pennsylvania from the very top. I'm talking to all of them, and they're saying this, and they're saying something. When somebody tells me something, I have to see it with my own eyes. So I looked it up with my own eyes, I saw it, and they're saying this, blame Rendell, blame this. And it's like, no, it's not. And then we did Watson with the hearing. It's intimidating because it's like they give us all this paperwork.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
None of their business. They want all this information on me, which has nothing to do with the meter. And it's like we're going to have a power turned off, and I know it's illegal. And it's like my thought is everybody's doing the same thing. When I spoke to the secretary...
Let me calm you down. Let me calm you down.
There's one case in PA that won because they're basing it on Act 129, and now it's like my thought is fighting a different way, and because everybody's doing this. So I'm like, I'm not doing this, they're losing. So my thought is, there's corruption, follow the money.
Here's the thing. I'm listening to you talk. Now listen, look at me. This is what I do. This is what I love doing. Just the way you were talking, everybody heard it, right? The way you were talking, they have you so frustrated, and they have you so confused. Yes, and they have you so frustrated, is that correct?
Yeah.
And they have you confused, is that correct? To the point of inaction, is that correct? Not knowing what to do. Now, stay with me. We're trying to walk a path, hon. The fix is in. So, they have you frustrated.
Well, they want me to give up.
They want you to give up, exactly. That's the point. They want you to give up. Do you feel like they want you to give up?
Oh, let me put one.
Stop talking about that. I'm trying to bring you focus. I'm trying to help you, honey.
I know they want to give up, and everything I've seen, I know I'm going to lose, but I said I'm not going to lose without kicking.
Here's how you want to make a difference. Do you want to make a difference? I'm going to help you. Are you ready for the help? Are you ready for the help? Are you really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to help you. Here's how you do it. You see, the founding of this state and the founding of this country. Yeah, microphone rolling. thought somebody was farting over here. The founding of this state and the founding of the founding document, how many pages long was the original Constitution? It was pretty short, wasn't it? It was simple, wasn't it? Folks with an 8th grade education, folks at that time with an 8th grade education could understand it. Here's what the politicians, the bureaucrats, want you to be, is frustrated to the point of giving up and confused. Here's how you hold them in check, is by understanding what their first duty is and reminding them of it. Their first duty is to, as a representative, is to defend, jealously defend, your personal freedom. Now, when you read the smart meter legislation and you look at what they set up, there is an office of curtailment. Now, what does that sound like? We're going to curtail your electricity use. Does that sound like fascism? No wonder a Democrat signed it into law. It's your house, you're paying for a service. The representative that vote for it needs to understand the basics. Everybody in here, folks, this is not rocket science. The towns came together. The towns came together, and they formed a county. The county came together, and they formed a state. The states came together, and they formed a federal government. Now, when we think about today's politicians and today's governmental structure, you've got all these cities in Pennsylvania, and we're going to list them all. Boom, 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 boom. They stretch that wall and that wall and that wall and that wall. Over 60 counties in Pennsylvania. Back and forth. Well, they divided all them cities up into counties for a reason. And they have a local county elected official, like you're going to be, Alec. Your first duty is to defend your constituents from the county overreach of their sovereignty as a homeowner, as a property owner, of their freedoms as an American citizen. That's your first duty. At a local level, at a county level, their first duty. At a state level, their first duty. It stays the same. It stays the same. And we need to remind these politicians that we live in a representative republic and not a democracy. And the smart meter goes against your personal property rights in the free market system, does it not? You buy that electricity on the open market. It's your house, it's your property, it's your consumption of the electricity. If the power company cannot generate enough power, then the state officials need to do something and approve more power plants, not curtail your usage of it. That's upside down. They work for you, and they forget that, and they hope that you forget it.
And they're not liable if anything happens to the meters.
They're liable at the ballot box, the people that does that, okay? So we have to live with it until it becomes a big enough problem for us to do something about it, right? So that is where we're at with the smart meter situation. It goes against American principles. It's plain and simple. We should have been up in arms about it. It shall be established. I'm thinking that sounds fascism. That sounds like communism to me. So yeah, next question. We're done. Hey, thank you all very much. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here. Have a good evening. Thanks.
Okay, Bobby Lawrence, everybody. Next time, Bobby, bring your passion with you, will you? Hey, fantastic, fantastic. What's that? Oh, yes, absolutely, absolutely. He certainly educated me in a couple areas, and I think he might have some of you as well. Linda, do you want to come up? This is a 50-50 raffle. There's a few hot dogs left, 2 for 1.
Okay, who wants to draw?
Okay, here you go.
Can you turn this off? Who wants to draw the winning ticket?
Here you go, Linda, here you go, use this one. This one's finicky, it's being finicky, I don't know what.
Okay.
The button's real close.
You want to draw the winning ticket? Yeah, come on.
Okay, we'll see if I'll draw the winning ticket here. My hand is the size of, yeah. There you go.
Okay. Let's see. Everybody get your little tickets out? 8. Oh. We collected $200, so the winner is going to get $100. That's pretty nice. 8-6. 3-3. 1-5. You don't let him win. Carol, thank you so much. Spend it wisely. Okay.
Folks, also, just a reminder about attorney Simon Grill. Please sign up for his 3-hour presentation. We're a little disappointed. We had 49 people that expressed an interest, and we only have maybe like a dozen signed up so far. So please sign up in the back. Okay, we're going to close our meeting in prayer.
And don't forget, tomorrow is the first day of summer. And the longest day of the year. So use it wisely. Lord, keep us all safe on the way home. Bless this congregation here. We appreciate everybody that's been here, and be safe going home. Amen.
And thank you, Bobby Lawrence. Good night, folks.